Thanks, Chairman. Mr. Secretary, thank you. You can put me on the clock. I have some questions. One, I appreciate expanding suffrage. I've recently been contacted by one of our larger counties that's going the opposite direction, talking about shrinking down the number of polling places for one centralized voting place. I'd love your input on that later. I'm trying to stay within guidelines here. Two, I'm real curious about the validity compliance about online voting. The numbers you're churning up over there are pretty considerable. I want to make sure they are valid. How am I to be assured the validity of my vote has not been cheapened by spook ghost registrations? Third one.
You want an answer on that one now, or?
I'm trying to stay under 5, and I got 3 more here.
So you're just going to give me the questions, and I'll give them. I'll be happy to put them in writing for you.
We can talk later. That would be
happy
great.
to do that too.
I'm sure you meant earlier, and I'm very proud that Pennsylvania is diverse as it is. I'm sure you meant earlier in awarding contracts, they get awarded to the lowest responsible bid, regardless of race, sex, color, creed, religion.
Correct. And so you know, our contracts are based on the Pennsylvania procurement laws, and they not only account for everything that is proper and required. I'm just stating the facts as to who ultimately gets the contracts, and that is based on what DGS does and the reviews that comes to us.
Lowest responsible
Not
bid.
necessarily. It's best value, as my understanding. It's not
Do we
necessarily.
give preference?
What's that?
Do we give preference to vendors, and if so, for why?
Sure, that's a longer question that I'm happy to. I know the answer, and it has to do with the Department of General Services, but I'm happy to give you the details. There's very clear Pennsylvania procurement laws, and that includes the bidding for contracts, first being on the list of those who can bid for contracts, then who eventually bids, has to do with price, has to do with past performance. It also includes minority and women participation, for which you might be allocated certain percentage of consideration points, as the case might be. We don't do it here. It's done by DGS, but yes.
I appreciate that, but I'm pretty much out on all of that. Mr. Secretary, I am not the immigrant, diverse person that Pennsylvania looks for. My immigrant group came over about 300 years ago, fought in a bunch of wars, and now we're all steel workers. But if we could...
And we love you as well, and we have plenty of those in my department, and I can give you those statistics as well.
Thank you.
You still make up the majority.
If we could talk about those questions, specifically diversity versus lowest responsible bid, online voting validity, and consolidation of polling places later, I'd appreciate it.
Sure.
Thank you, Chairman.
Happy to
Thank you, Representative.